The forest was still under the silver light of dawn. Dew clung to the leaves like tiny diamonds, and the cold air smelled of pine and earth. In the middle of this vast wilderness stood a young deer named Elara. Elara wasn't like the other deer in her herd. While they were fast, graceful, and sure-footed, she was different. Born with a slight limp in her back leg, she had always struggled to keep up. The others never bullied her, but they never expected much from her either. But Elara had a dream, to complete the Great Crossing. The Great Crossing was a long, dangerous journey across the entire forest, through rivers, steep hills, predator zones, and wild weather. It was a rite of passage, a test of courage and strength that only the strongest deer attempted. Every spring a group would set out, but Elara had never joined. She had always stayed behind, told that it's not for you. This year, however, she wasn't going to watch from the shadows. Her inspiration was not from within the herd, but from stories her grandmother once told her. Her grandmother, once known as the Wind Runner, had completed the Great Crossing in her youth, even after surviving a leg injury from a wolf attack. Pain fades, she'd said, but giving up stays with you. That morning, Elara took her first step onto the path of the crossing. At first, everything went well. The terrain was soft and gentle. Birds sang above her, and the forest welcomed her like an old friend. Her hooves touched the earth with rhythm, and for a moment, she forgot about her limp. She passed creeks, skipped over logs, and smiled to herself. But that feeling didn't last. By the second day, the sky darkened. The rain came in heavy sheets. The path turned to mud. Elara's bad leg began to ache with every step. Her body cried out for rest, and the voice in her head grew louder. You should turn back. That night she took shelter under an old, hollow tree. Shivering and sore, she closed her eyes and remembered her grandmother's voice. One more step. Just one. That's how the world changes. The next day, she kept going. 3 days in, she entered the thickest part of the jungle. This area was known as Shadow Hollow, a place where sunlight rarely touched the ground. Twisted trees, vines, and the smell of moss surrounded her. Here, danger lurked. Elara stayed alert. She knew she wasn't alone. Suddenly, she heard the snap of a branch. A fox. It leaped from the shadows. Hungry eyes locked on her. She ran. Her legs screamed in pain, her breathing shallow, but something inside her refused to stop. She zigzagged through trees, jumped over a log, stumbled once, but kept moving. The fox gave up. Elara collapsed behind a boulder, heart racing. She had made it. She had survived. But when she looked at her leg, she knew the cost. She had twisted it badly while
Tears welled up. She cried not just from the pain, but from the weight of disappointment. She was alone, injured, and still far from the end. She had no herd, no comfort, no one to help. But then, through the wind and trees, came a whisper. One more step. She looked up. The sky was clearing. A beam of sunlight touched her face. She breathed deeply. Her grandmother once faced worse and still made it. So she stood. The last few days of the journey were the hardest. She moved slower than ever. She drank from streams and rested often. She wrapped her leg in vines soaked with healing herbs she remembered from her grandmother's teachings. She used fallen branches for support. The pain was constant, but so was her spirit. Every time her body said, "Stop," her heart answered, "One more step." On the final day, the trees thinned, the ground opened up. She reached the top of a hill, and below it stretched a golden valley. She had made it. Tears fell again, but this time with pride. She stood on the edge of that hill like a warrior, scarred but victorious. She didn't win a medal, didn't get applause, but she had proven something far greater. Not to others, to herself. That courage wasn't the absence of pain, but the will to keep going despite it. That dreams aren't just for the strong, but for the determined. that even a limping deer can cross mountains if she takes one more step. Moral: success isn't always about winning. Sometimes it's about proving to yourself that you can. No matter how slow, how broken, or how hard it gets, just one more step can lead you to something beautiful.